A visit from the grandchildren always brings a smile to Addie Matson's face.
Oh my goodness, look who's here. Say hi to Grandma. Hello. Look who's here. Are you coming?
For Addie, taking care of Mitchell and Meredith is a pleasure, not a chore.
I don't go south in the winter because I'm afraid I'll miss out on things with my grandchildren. Maybe as time goes on and they get older, we will go for the winter. But right now, they're precious. I want to spend every minute I can with them.
But before Mom and Dad head out for a few days, pediatrician Daniel Broughton has some words of advice.
It's important that when parents are going to go someplace, especially overnight, that they don't bring somebody in, whether it be a grandparent or another sitter, and say, okay, here's the person that you're going to be with for the next day or 2 or 3 days. We're off. Goodbye, and leave it up to the child and the grandparent in this case to try to figure out who they are and how they're going to get along.
When you leave your kids at someone else's house, you want to make sure the home has been child-proofed. You also want to survey the environment for disguised dangers. The American Academy of Pediatrics says children should never be left alone near any open body of water, such as a swimming pool. Some other dangers to watch out for: sharp objects, shaky furniture, pots on burning stoves, and busy streets. Make sure poisons and medicines are out of reach and there are no firearms in the house. Once the checklist is complete, parents say a packing plan can make the transition to Grandma and Grandpa's house go smoothly.
I think it's always important for them to have enough so that the burden doesn't fall to the grandparents or whomever's staying with them to be responsible for all of that stuff. Enough clothes plus a change of clothes, which Marnie always takes care of.
I always give them an opportunity before we would leave on a long trip for them to pick out the special things that they want. So we usually come over with a laundry basket or 2 of those sorts of things.
I bring lots of toys and my 2 grandkids.
Playtime at grandparents' house is often different from their own house, which gives children a chance to try something new.
Okay, what you got? Let me see.
We like to play this game called Old Maid, but my sister calls it Homemade. We play Homemade, and there's a homemade girl.
Who said that? How do you know
I saw you.
Most grandparents are notorious for having fun, playing games, and bending the rules a little bit. Pediatricians and parents agree. When it comes to rules of the house, while grandparents can be flexible, consistency is key. Addie admits she sometimes allows her grandchildren to watch TV while they're eating, which is not the norm at home.
We have a little TV in the kitchen, and they're not allowed to watch TV at home. And so we tell them, you have to eat or the TV goes off. So usually they're pretty good. We have a clean plate.
That's okay. I mean, it's not like they're going to develop a habit of that from our in our house. They just know in our house we don't do it. Again, it's kind of like something they do in their house.
Bending a couple of rules is okay, pediatricians say, but don't send the whole rule book out the window when staying with grandparents.
What you don't want to have happen is to go to the grandparents' house and have this magic that's going on all of the time, all of the rules are suspended, and to have grandparents say, this is my house, you live the way I want you to in this house, and when you go home, your parents will do what they feel. That creates a situation then of really undermining what the parents are trying to do.
The Gaudis say they have a very open line of communication with their parents, and serious differences in family customs don't arise.
I do know that my parents probably are not quite as strict, but when I think back to my grandparents, they weren't as strict either. And I think that's kind of a perk or a benefit of having grandparents, is a little bit of spoiling.
Popping popcorn and playing puzzles dominates the time Addie spends with her grandchildren. Addie doesn't worry too much about spoiling. She knows what she's doing.
We had 3 children, and they turned out so good. And if my grandchildren can turn out that great, I'll be very happy.